Hello, I'm Ramparno, and I'm going to be prototyping some climbing mechanics today for fun. So let's get into that, and I've got a little task list here. So first we're going to be looking at importing the animations that I have a pack from the Fab Marketplace, and then determining the wall climbing state, jumping onto the wall, pressing into the wall, climbing up that, moving around, getting the animation blueprint set up, and then if we're lucky and we have time, we can do some climb up and down from ledge, but we may have to do that in another stream, so let's jump into that. Okay, so I should have a example of the pack here, so I'm just going to reopen that tab because I happened to close it. Let's have a look here. So it's just called climbing animations. We've got this really neat pack here, and so it's got all the kind of animations that we would want. It's even got like convex and concave animations. It's got a wall jump from ledge, and so there's a lot in here. There's actually a YouTube video where you can see this is the kind of thing that we want to achieve. So just moving up the ledge, moving left, right, up and down, and you know, maybe in future we'll add stamina to this, but today we just care about prototyping the movement as quickly as we can. So it's also got some cool stuff in here where we're going around corners, and there's a little bit of ledge climb. So there's a good, there's a really good reference here for how to set this up. Now, they didn't provide the blueprint as far as I know. So let's open Unreal. I have set up a third-person character in a previous stream, so if you're interested, you can go watch how to do that. So what we want to do is jump into that level, just hit play quickly, see where we're at. So we've got this walking character, moves in the direction of the mouse input, and we can also make him sprint and jump. So I guess the first thing we're going to need is a wall to climb. So let's drop something in. The way we want to do this is if we walk up to this and we hit this, we want to initiate climbing. So let's have a look at the animations that we have. Content browser, we've got climbing animation set. We've got some demo assets. It does actually come with an animation blueprint. And so this might be one of those streams where we'll actually look at the blueprints that were provided, address any issues that I notice with it, and actually implement that. I wasn't expecting it to come with climbing blueprint. It did say it wouldn't have that, so it will save some time. I would like to just jump into doing it. This is an overview map, so I'm guessing I can't actually hit play in here. Yeah, so we're just going to look at the animations quickly. We've got the idle climb, got the start climb, which you could play from a jump animation as well. Climb down. Yeah, this looks like the landing. We've got, so these are all the types of transitions, so that's cool. Don't know why there's two sets. Oh, it's in place and root motion. Yeah, I don't really want root motion. I'm not a huge fan. I'd like to control it myself. Plus I'm going to use IK to do like hand grapples and things like that. So let's see here. We are looking good on the stream, just double checking that. Okay, so turning corners. I guess you have to do that manually then, I guess, on the root motion. Yeah, so that is quite nice. And we may want to use the root motion for that. Yeah, we've got some falling, that's pretty cool. That is also root motion, so that doesn't help us. We would just fall with gravity, so we'll use this. Got some jumps. And then, of course, we can use this landing animation if we jump and we re-grab the wall. I believe there was an idle like turn, like leaning off the wall. Got some stop movement here. Okay, cool. So there's no blueprint there. So let's go. I find the references to this asset. Funnily, this might not be the actual blueprint that I was talking about. And it does say this actor is used to display the animations. But this is not an actual actor. So that's good news. We can actually dive into this properly. So without further ado, let's get started with that. First thing we're going to need is this animation, which of course is a blueprint. It's climbing idle. Okay. Before we go anywhere with this, let's translate or transfer these assets to our Leon character. Let's just have a look. So we've got some good stuff going on here. It's like a nice quick way of throwing these around now. Always going to be perfect. That's pretty cool. You can move the light around as well. The L key. Still not that bright, but this is where we'll be. Okay, let's convert everything, I suppose. These are all the root motion, so maybe not root motion. Maybe we should do all of them. Let's do all of them, because I don't think there's an issue with doing that. So we'll prefix this with Leon. And we will put it in the retarget Leon pack, and we'll actually add a new folder called climb. Throw that in there. Export all of those. Okay, so now we have all of our animations. Let's jump back to our third person level. Hit play. Cool, so we're going to walk up to this wall. We're going to determine whether we're climbing or not. So let's have a look. Okay, so back in the blueprint for this guy. Let's just try firstly event hit and see how often that triggers, because sometimes this triggers whilst you're walking. Hit play again. Dunk. So we get well, we definitely get notified, and then it just like rubs against the wall, I guess. So we get a lot of notifies. We just want it the first time. So let's get started. We will start managing states as and when we get to them, and to rapidly sort of move along with this, let's just create a climbing state hit. So let's just say if we're not climbing, we now want to be climbing. And the way that we'll do this is we'll stick it in a function, set climbing. Again, if this is not equal, then we'll be allowed to change that. We would set it like this. So if the incoming setter for this is different to existing, then we're allowed to set it and do some different things. So when it's true, we know we want to like disable gravity and maybe set movement mode to something custom. So we could do flying. So it just ignores the effects of gravity, and it affects the current physics volume fluid. I don't know what that means, but flying could be good. Could just go custom. User defined custom movement. Many possible submodes. Means nothing right now, but let's just go for a custom, and then when we stop climbing, let's go back to, well, generally if we've stopped climbing, we're probably falling. We may actually have touched the floor and walked off of the climb. So we may want to be walking. So what we could do is do a selector here and say moving on ground. So if we're moving on the ground, we want to go back to walking, otherwise we would be falling. Now just re-enable gravity. The next thing to do is think about this. The next thing to do, when we touch that wall, we're going to enter climbing. Where's that gone here? So this is actually a new graph we'll create climbing. Or climb graph. Okay, so let me just... Oh, that was actually a good tab. We'll keep that open. Let's have a look at this music here. Turn it down a little. It's a little bit better. Okay, so coming back to, let's just pause this. Coming back here. Back climbing. Just a basic hit for now. What we might do is add, if you're in the air, then we'll climb, and if you're not in the air and you're just walking, we'll add a little timer that says like, if we're receiving this state for long enough, then we'll start climbing because you're pressing against the wall. But for now, we'll just do a hit. Just want to get some progress going. Let's have a look at the time. We're at 25. So, okay. Yeah, in the next like 8 minutes, I would like us to actually be grappled onto the wall. So let's do that. Let's open up the character animation blueprint that we have for Leon and take a look at what we did last. So if the character's moving on the ground, we're grounded. We have some velocity. We've got a movement graph that says whether we're on the ground or in the air. We're actually going to want a new state that says that if we enter climbing at any point, we want to enter like a new state called climbing. Let's have a look at this. We've got this character here that we're casting, but we're not getting the state of climbing from here. And rather than changing this to cast to our specific character, what I'm going to do is create a blueprint interface for this series of animations. So under blueprint here, we have interface at BPI underscore animation. We'll add get climbing. We'll have an output. So now in our animation graph, what we can do, we can convert this back to pure get climbing. Promote that to a variable inside our animation blueprint, which means that we can keep the fast path, which I described what fast path is in previous video, which is essentially just a faster processing for the animation, so we're not accessing external variables. Next, we need to go to our class settings of our character and actually add that interface. As soon as we do that, we'll actually get this set climbing. Now, it doesn't have a category, and it's actually set climbing, so we'll move that into climbing. Then we've got this interface. It's just like an open interface, which isn't great. So let's reopen this and tag this. Maybe. So now in the animation interface, we have this get climbing, which we would just plug our property into that we have inside our character. And now the event graph in the animation blueprint knows about that without having to cast. So that's nice. Little dependency protection there. So we do have a new state and it's climbing. Curious if we can add an animation in here. Information sequence that this montage element will link to. When the sequence changes in length or rate, the element will correctly place itself in relation to the sequence. So I believe there is a way to do Emerald Engine animation blueprint. What's this called here? It's a transition. Transition animation. We have this transition rules here. It's a whole ton of rules. Nothing explicit on playing an animation mid. So we could use a montage to get us into this state, and then this climbing state just holds sort of the idle and movement contexts. So for the ground movement, we use a blend space for like if you're idle, and then if you're moving in any direction, which would be the same for our climbing. So I think that's what we'll do, is we'll play a montage when we hit that wall. And then inside climbing, let's get the climb idle in place. We don't need to evaluate this, so we'll just not expose the evaluation pin. In fact, this is an evaluator. So let's just go try that one more time. Climb idle. We don't want to evaluate it, we just want to play it. We need to add our climbing in here. And next, we want to we could fall back to in air when we're not climbing, and that'll immediately fall back to ground if we're on the ground, because the next condition will immediately trigger, which is whether you're grounded, so it'll just fall back straight to ground. Okay, so if I compile this now and hit that climbing, we'll actually enter that animation. So that's awesome. We'll convert this over to a blend space soon. So we've got another 4 minutes on this part. Okay, so have a look. First, let's play in our climb graph here. If we're not climbing, we'll set climbing. So we'll come in, we'll set our movement mode to custom, and we want to play a montage. We'll go create that montage right now. So over in our, we have a retarget folder. Time start, maybe. It's gonna take a second to find this. Dashes, drop, falling, grab wall from A. So it hits that. In this case, actually, grab wall from ground, so we'll use that one first. We will create an anim montage. We'll call it AM underscore Leon line start from ground. Save that. Plug that in here. Oh, let's see if all of this effort worked. So now I'm not able to move. I am able to turn, so we need to remove orient to movement. The movement component, orient to movement. Turn that off so that we're not turning around. And we can turn it back on when we're grounded again. One more time. Okay, so we've started climbing. We're not able to move. So let's get that part started. Firstly, let's make the blend space. So let's go find the idle. Well, actually, we just need to make a blend space first. So let's go to character. Open that, right click, create a, not 1D, we're going to make a multi-directional blend space. So this is blend space climbing. We will put that in with our climbing animations. In here we'll have an idle. Let's make sure first that our axes are named correctly actually. So for our vertical axis, we've just got move forward. For our horizontal axis, we've got move right. And as we're doing this, we're basically -1 to 1 space. So we'll change these to -1 to 1, -1 to 1. It means in the middle here, we hold shift, it'll snap. So we have this animation. So we want all the IP climbs. Okay. So, climb. Oh, did I just add all of those? That was wrong. 5 left. Down left. 5 down. Right. Up left. Up right. So as I drag this now, we'll see the character's gonna do the actions that we want. Looking pretty cool. Let's get that asset into our animation blueprint here. Quickest way to do this is to dupe it from here. Change the blend space to BS1. We only have 1 pin, which is not great. Promote these two variables. Left. In order for these variables to work later in a multiplayer environment, we'll need to base it off of the velocity in comparison to the character's forward vector. So let's actually go create a function for that and start building that function out. Set climb. Start categorizing everything in here because it's going to get messy. Climbing here. Got refs. State. Generic states, essentially. Okay. Let's have a look at how speed is calculated. Speed is just velocity. It's neither up, forward, left, right, or down. So let's call our new setClimb variables function. And in the next 5 minutes, I would like to be able to be moving around that wall. So let's get cracking on that. So the first thing we need to do is determine if we're moving vertically. So let's do that. We want to get the character's velocity again. And we want to convert that to a -1 being down and 1 being up. What we could do is actually, we want to convert this into local space, so we'll transform this direction. Actually, we can normalize this into a direction and then transform it inversely into local space using the transform of the character. That will give us directional 0 to 1 So if I break this now, did I call it left? When I did this, I did. Let's call that forward, or I guess up. I'll actually name these a bit more composedly as well. Climb right and climb up. So the Z is climb up, that's going to be -1 to 1. Climb right is the X, probably the Y actually in Unreal. I mean, our character, we actually need to make it move, otherwise nothing's going to happen. Let's check where we're at. So we don't have any directions right now. That's all good. Let's go to our inputs graph. What's happening here is we're actually adding move input in various directions when we press the buttons, but we're in custom movement mode. So this add movement input will do nothing during custom movement. What we really need to do here is ask if we're climbing. And if we're not, then we'll collapse this to a function called move on ground. Create another function, move on, using their corresponding functions. Clean these up, make sure they're aligned to the graph. Okay, so move on wall. It will need an input, like a vector here. Add an input for the vector 2. There. So this keeps this graph nice and clean. We've got 2 states that we can be. When we're moving on the wall, let's break this. Adding movement input is doing nothing to the character, so we need to move the character. Flying might be better, because flying might actually... Let's go flying. Flying will actually replicate, is the point, I believe. Do flying here. Sure nothing's broke. So you can see actually got some movement there. I'm in. Yeah, don't know where he got that movement from there, but we'll cross that bridge in a moment. Oh, we could force, actually. Let's try force. Move on wall. Okay, so add move input, and we'll call force. And we'll say for Y, we're moving up and down. Let's just try that. Force this variable. Once we do that. Okay, I guess we're not actually simulating the character. Okay. Not in scope. How about here? Also not in scope. Okay. How about here? Interesting. Oh yes, it's physics tree. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, it's the last input was 1. However, we're not moving. In a replicated environment, we need to make sure that we're moving on the client first and then the server. Let's try flying movement one more time. May just be the answer that we're looking for. possibly using the wrong inputs. We were moving. Let's get that centered. When we hit this and then press the left key, we actually do move up, which is cool. And the more we do it, the faster we get. So we do need to clamp the flying movement, which is a shame. I would really like to use custom. Let's have a look on Google, see custom movement replication. Bring the video back up for the asset while I'm doing some research. One recommendation is to send it to the server after you do it yourself. But obviously there becomes issues about rubber banding and things like that, so I don't really want to do that. Just one thing to find out is, with flying, is it actually replicated? And I would need to set up the play mode to listen server for this. I have 2 characters. Character hits the wall, presses T. Yeah, so that is replicated, that's awesome. And if it's custom, and then I say, what sort of movements have we got here? Yeah, flying is. Flying is. Where, right, I said in the next 5 minutes I wanted this guy to be walking around, so I failed on that one because I was wondering if I could use custom. Custom does require maybe some C++ for this. Flying is going to be fine. We're going to use the X input, which is W and S for the up and down. We're going to clamp the flying speed to, say, 150. When we let go, it doesn't actually seem to slow down, or it slows down really slowly. So let's get braking deceleration up to something a bit more reasonable. 100. Maybe this variable doesn't do anything. No, he does nicely stop. So one thing I've noticed immediately there through testing that is that this blend space, I forgot to add the smoothing time. So we'll go 0.5 for smoothing on this. And that just means that when we go to idle, we actually see how they smoothly kind of go back to that. So that's cool. So play again. That's cool. Let's do left and right next. Up and down is fairly easy, but left and right is relative to the character, so would you get right vector? In fact, what we'll do is get actor up vector. Yeah. What we want to do soon is actually align this character to the surface. Okay, so we're climbing. I need to put a grid material on here to check for the alignment. So it's the speed of it, right? The speed of the animation seemed a little bit off. A little bit slidey. Yeah, so it's like a smidge too fast. So we'll come in here, we'll do 125, see how that feels. Oh yeah, much better. I'm getting error every time. So let's have a look at that. Access none, trying to read the local player subsystem during the mapping in BPPC core. So this is because we're in a replicated environment. It should only do this for the local player. When we hit play, we shouldn't get that issue. That's a little bit of slide at the beginning. I'm not keen on. What I might need to do for that, back in our set climbing where we play the animation, we want to have a blend out on this that sort of blends out from about 0.5, so we need about 0.6 on the blend out. Okay. So next, I mean, I can't get off the wall, so we may want to do that. Let's go back to single player. It's going to be quicker to debug. Wondering whether I should use a remotion lock whilst doing that. Grab. That would be kind of annoying. Animations. Set this to a blend out of 1. That feels a little bit better. Okay, so let's get jumping off the wall. Let's do that next. Close some of these down. We need that content browser open. Okay. So jumping off the wall. Let's do. There's an on jumped here. There's an input for jumping as well. So we call this jump. What actually happens when we do that right now? Oh, it doesn't go back to walking. What we'd want to do. The event graph forgot this. Does this actually trigger? Because you didn't actually jump. Because you maybe you can't jump. Let's look at this time. So here you can jump. Oh, I hit the floor and entered climbing. It's not good. Why is that not working? What? Wrong. I think he enters falling afterwards. So we'll have to fix that momentarily. Yeah, I actually think and jump is false because we're in flying. So what we could try is that when we set climbing, that can jump. Movement capabilities can jump. Okay, so I guess in the inputs graph, if we can't jump, we could ask if we're climbing. If we are climbing, we could set climbing to false and then launch the character perpendicular to the surface. We might want to launch them in the direction that they are holding the inputs, so they actually launch left, right, up, down, and do an actual dash. Right now we're just going to make him jump off the wall. So we'll do get active forward vector, multiply that by -1. The float here, -1. Plug that in here. We'll do a bunch of overrides on this. And we'll also, so we'll be oriented to movement at this point as well. Gotta fix that other bug. Oh, and we actually need to multiply this by like some kind of power so that we actually get a good launch out of this. So we'll go 250. There's a couple of other issues happening. Let's expand these out a bit. Let's move these around. If you're climbing, collapse this to a function. Good. Jump from the wall. And if you're not climbing, collapse this to a function. Jump. I'm going to keep the event graph as easy to read as possible and the business logic inside of functions, which just helps a little bit for readability. Sometimes it helps as well for extending the class into a different class. But for our use case, we're doing it for cleanup. Okay, move on wall, jump from wall. Okay, so jumping from the wall. It's all good. I want to add a little bit of upward velocity to it. So we have an issue where we jump into the wall, we hit the wall. We should be entering climbing state. Flying. Maybe we need to stop movement immediately. Something's going on when we jump into the wall, so let's just see if we can. Be interesting to know what the animation blueprint does at that time. So let's look at this. We've got not grounded, so he goes into the air state. He never becomes grounded again, so he stays in the air state. So he can actually go from being in the air to climbing. So let's make sure that that is possible. Here we go. This, we can jump off. So whilst we're in the air, we've got the next one is, we're in the air. Are we grounded? shouldn't be climbing, so we should move over to being in the air. Hopefully this debugs whilst we're playing. We can jump, land. Oh, he goes into climbing. That's wonderful. Oh, because of the hit. So have a look at our climbing graph again. We've got this event hit. If you're not climbing now, you are. And so we're actually landing on the floor and getting a hit. So what we need is maybe a move on ground. Is moving on ground. So when we get a hit, as long as we're not climbing and we're moving on the ground, that's not going to work because we're not going to be able to do it from aerial. So maybe we just need to test the hit. Maybe the better thing is to just test the hit. So if we're not climbing, should we climb, essentially? We could convert this into and climb. And we'll use an input of the vector 3. Oh yeah, it's not Unity. We'll use the hit normal. Do a dot product on this. So firstly, we can enter climbing as long as we're not climbing, otherwise it's going to return false. You're already climbing. You can't start climbing. Next is the hit vector dot product. So let's dot product this with the up axis. And so if this is, let's just go with greater than 0.5, or sorry, if this is less than 0.5, then it's valid. So the way a dot product works is we're just testing a direction. We're asking if these two arrows are pointing in the same direction, and if they are perfectly, it's 1. If they're slightly off, it's 0.25 or 0.75. Then 0.5 as it becomes parallel, and then as it goes the other way, it's negative 0.5, and then negative 1 in the opposite direction. It's a great little vector function, a little bit of math for doing a lot of gameplay calculations for things like enemies and awareness, perceptions, or bullet hits and things like that. If you want to play with that logic, is just great for a lot of those kinds of things. So dot product there, nice and clean. And so now just to double check our code, we have, stop moving immediately, may not be necessary. Let's just do less if we can. Okay. Hop, grab, pull, jump, land. Let's just check if, yep, so we're good there. Yeah, one of the next things is probably don't want to be able to do this. We've got 10 minutes to finalize this movement, where you're able to go off the top and off the left. And so those will be checks inside our move on wall function. And then maybe in another episode we'll do the climbing up onto a ledge portion. One of the first things I want to do is, if I hit this floor, I want to actually get off the wall. So let's check our hit function that we had, because I think this is going to trigger. Bonk. Yeah, cool. So that's perfect. And of course we're not climbing, so that's good. We can go back one again. Come on, let me out. Let me out. Okay, so if we can't climb, let's dot product this with 1, and if it's more than 0.5, well, essentially if it's more than 0, then maybe we set climbing to false. This may have some edge cases, and so we can look at that in the future, but Get on the wall. Get off the wall. We do need to play an animation for hopping off that wall. So when we set landing false, let's play another animation. Would be like the release, I guess. This may not work. This may look janky. Let's find out. Asset browser. Climb. We've got stop moving, which is a nice one. It would be nice to play that when we stop moving. We could do that later. We've got the jump out. Oh, that's like a... What's going on here? But that could actually turn us around if it was the root motion one. But it seems to be root locked. Maybe the... I think that the retarget didn't work for the root motion animations. That's essentially what I'm seeing here. Oh no, there we go. That actually allows you to jump and then land on another wall or land on the floor, which would again be a really nice iteration to what we have so far. Drop. I think this is what we wanted. I'm going to make a montage out of that. Create a new montage, put an_Leon, climb, drop. That character and hit it in here. We need like a landing animation. We don't seem to have a decent landing animation. There is this. It's not long enough. It's strangely not the right length. It ends there. So maybe we'll come back with another animation pack in the future for a landing. And I mean, who knows? Maybe the new pack has a landed. No, it doesn't. So yeah, we're at sort of an impasse there. We can't really fix the landing, and we'll do that in another episode when I source some new animations. But it's generally okay. How long have we got now? We've got another 7 minutes. We could fix this. So let's get that done. The way we're going to do that is with a line trace. So let's close down a bunch of these functions and have a look at move on wall. So here what we simply need to do is organize this a bit better. Get the invet. Worst name apparently. Break that. We're using the Y for this one, and we're using the X for this one. Yeah. This is right, this is move up. We'll add some conditions to these using line traces. So, move them out. Got space for the line traces. We're also going to serve us for adding the climb up at some point. Future. Okay, so where are we at right now? Line traces. Line traces. Line trace. Let us do it from the get character. Get actor location. Add little bit of height to that. So I say 50 units. We'll start there, and we'll add another vector to this, which is get forward. Multiply that by a float. So we're going to go up, and we're going to go forward by another 50 units. Essentially, as long as there is a hit, we're allowed to climb upwards. We'll debug this for 1 frame. It's right there, yeah. So that's cool. If this is false and we're still trying to move, maybe we could now play the montage for climbing up. Let's go find that animation. I don't want to use the root motion. Let's try that. Great, and a montage. Hey Shabam, welcome back. I think I created an montage. I don't see the montage. Oh, there it is. I'm working on climbing today, so we're doing like some Zelda style stuff. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing great. It's actually going better than I expected. I thought it would take me like 3 or 4 hours, but yeah, you know, sometimes you get pleasantly surprised. So we've got this animation montage for Leon. It's climbing. It is we call it get up. If it didn't save mid typing, that would have been awesome. Okay, so we've got the get up animation. Let's play that right here, and then let's set timer by event. We're going to cancel climbing, of course, at the end of this. Let's play this animation. Let's create a new matching event. We'll call this latent stop climbing. Oh, we'll just call it stop climbing. That's fine. Or may as well create the start climbing function. Sometimes we like to use this. So set climbing. The reason we need to do this is because we can't plug this into a climbed function in Blueprint. So start climbing is true, stop climbing, cool. Go back to move on wall, come all the way over here, we'll set this at stop climbing, so that should be good. And so that'll just trigger after the animation is complete. Although I wonder if it will just work to just say stop climbing immediately. Maybe that'll be fine. Problem is it might play an animation. Yeah, it's gonna override it with sort of like the drop animation. That's not great. Okay, so let's just do that one. Make it look easy. Yeah, I mean, I've done it for 10 years. Yeah, I've done it for a while. Oh, so I saw... Did you see what happened there? Because I was still holding W, still going. So we'll do... We'll check if the character is playing the montage. It is playing. Current montage. If that is valid, we're not going to allow anything to happen. Clean this up a little bit. It just takes time. One of the things that I always recommend people to do is just do game jams and don't worry about how bad they are originally. If you're really early into game dev, and then the more game jams you do, the more projects you have, the more code you've been exposed to. In the absence of obviously working in a studio, you just need to learn yourself, right? And so nowadays as well, we have things like ChatGPT that can help with sort of just directing you to resources. I call it Super Google. So that helps. It can't code Blueprint, but it can help you learn. So help you solve problems. We're at the hour. I'm going to keep going for another 15-20 minutes. But yeah, game jams. Game jams are good. Yeah, it's a second language. I think it's like a second language. So same with C++ or any other language that you might learn is eventually you just get really fluent with it and you know all the words, which is why verse, UEFN, scares me because I've learnt this language and I'm good at this language. And I've tried verse. It's actually really nice as well. I'd like to get fluent at it, but I've got time. UE6 is like 2 to 3 years away, but UE6 will use verse. It would be a nice language to know. So yeah, developing it well and just developing, I guess, yeah, they're different things, right? So like to keep some fundamentals in mind when I'm blueprinting, in particular. Yeah, like you say, bloating things or just creating dependencies or making something that's not scalable. In fact, what I'm building right now is not particularly scalable. I am planning to do another stream where I move all of this into gameplay abilities. The reason for that is because I want to add gliding, I want to add swimming, and so what does spacebar do in all these contexts would change based on the gameplay ability setup. And so there will be a stream at some point where I actually convert this over to a better formatting for separating out those functions and making it a little bit more scalable, a little bit more maintainable as well. Where was I with this? Yeah, so if I'm playing a montage, I'm not allowed to press W. So let's show his capsule. See if the I know I've hit the end of the hour because the music stopped. I refuse to turn it back on, as I may. Yeah, so the capsule's actually not moving. Let's go back to the root motion and actually re-enable root motion and see if this is going to work. There's a little bit of jank in there. Let's have a look at the animation here. I'm gonna turn the music back on. I can't work without music. Okay. Never worked with C++. I was mostly a full stack web app dev for the longest time. Interesting. You should somehow PM me because I'm looking for an experienced web dev who is into games development. Yeah, and Roots Blueprint. Scripting is overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff already in the back end, and what I see a lot of developers do when they do their tutorials on YouTube or other like Udemy courses is they write things that already exist. And I'm sure I've written a bunch of stuff that already exists because I don't always look at the C++, but in the times where I've worked in big teams where I have had access to the source, I learned that a lot of things are already in there. Okay, so we've got a problem right now. We're just going to solve it quickly. So when you get to the top of the ledge and you get up on top, you then, I believe, land. And we can test that theory by having this onLanded function play. So there you go. And one of the reasons for that is because we're still climbing when we get to the top of this wall. So let's try stop climbing here. Of course, plays a montage or landing on the floor. Let's not do that. Jump, land, on the wall, climb down. That land animation is always rubbish, but he fell. He fell. Set movement mode. Orient, rotation to movement. How do I DM you? Yeah, I'm actually not sure. I think there's an email. So it's like ren at ux is fine. No. Yeah. .gmail.com or something. I'll just double check. Yeah, it's just ren at uxisfine.com as an email. So RENN. I'll type in chat for you. For anyone else interested in chatting. Ren at uxisfine.com. So that's my email, my work email. And yeah, if anyone's got ideas for streams they want to see happen. We don't have a Discord yet. I am in the process of setting one up and a Twitter account and some other things. So that will happen in the future. Let's look one more time at where I'm at. Just walking up here, get to the top, but then we are falling. Let's make this capsule always visible for now. The root motion doesn't take control, and maybe it's because I'm setting the movement mode where I've played the anim. So we'll stop moving, and then we'll play the anim. The motion is not playing nice. Did I accidentally untick it? No, I didn't. Could do a velocity test for the landing. That could also work. Like that. Graph landed. Velocity is more than 100. Then you can play this cool landed animation. Trying to make it auto climb on top of the ledge once it reaches the top. Yeah, so what we've got so far is we're able to walk up and left and right and down. We've got one issue to solve still. Well, okay, he just ended up playing the animation a bit early there. Something strange going on. We had some things working. I think the distance for my trace here needs to be a bit longer. Yeah, sometimes the jank is funny. So we go like this. Apparently, if you're moving and you don't get a hit, it presumes that you're trying to climb over. There's also an out animation that's occurring when I get to the top, so sort of he's still in a certain movement mode towards the end there. I think what I might want to do is sort of like blend this in by maybe a second. Definitely floating towards the end, so that is a measure of this. So let's try 60 units. Still definitely floating. Let's try 80. It's really high up. I need to slow-mo. Slow-mo 0. Do this when I'm actually on the wall. Slow-mo 0. the West implementation, I guess. Does this dodgy like landing at the end? I guess the condition that I added here is actually still true. So the velocity is 240. What's the velocity if I actually land? 500, yeah. Okay, so we could actually increase this to like 300 and that will solve the problem possibly. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go back to the character, hide the capsule, run up the wall, climb it, get on top. Cool, we've got a nice little climb going on. Okay, so the next one is, it thinks that I want to climb up when I go off the left side. So let's fix that quickly. Yeah, superpowers. Yeah. Does he have to jump or can he auto jump? He can do both. So he can walk into the wall. Just walk up and down, get back off. Or he can jump and land on it. And so then he can climb, he can get up. The next thing to fix is the left and right movement. So here what we want is as long as this is not equal 0, I guess. No, because you could be going up and over to the left. I need to have a good condition for determining whether he is attempting to climb up or he's coming off to the left. Which I guess I could just test the left side early. I mean, this is starting to make the system very particular. What I'm about to do is about to make the system not very scalable, but it's a start and I can always go back and iterate on it. But what I'm going to do now is sort of do the same kind of test but off the left side. And so the reason this isn't great is because sometimes you'll go off the left side of, say, a cliff, but there won't actually be a 90-degree angle to turn to. But for now what we'll do is we'll actually just stop him from moving. So we're going to get the actor location, we're going to add the actor's right vector. Yeah, we're going to do a test for the left and right. So first we're going to do it to the right side. We don't really need to add any height to this. Just need to go to the right. We're also going to do place to the left as well. First to the right, if this hits, is the left hitting? Because it only really matters left or right depending on if you're moving in those directions. So what I could actually do instead of doing two traces is just test if the y-axis is more than 0, and if it is, then we'll do the test to the right side, and if it isn't, we'll do the test to the left side. And in fact, instead of doing two different traces, we'll just select on here. And we'll say if we're moving to the right, it's 100 units. If we're moving to the left, it's negative 100. And as long as that hits, we're good to keep moving. Later, I kind of want to add the idea of being able to climb around corners. But for today, I want to wrap up the stream with a working basic implementation. We also want to orient them to the surfaces. Okay, so we're able to climb up. That's cool. We're also able to, let's have a look. Can I move to the left? I'm tracing incorrectly. We're getting the actor's location, and then we're adding the right vector by a certain amount, but we're not shooting forward. So we do need to add that. So we also need to start position. Then add this, I think is the correct. Nope, still messing it up. So we're getting the actor location and we're adding the right vector by an amount. That's going to be the start position of our shot. Then we're going to trace forward. It's actually pretty far off, but stop this from going off the ledge. I think we're good there. Yep. It's a little bit far, and I could implement the idea of going around the ledge, so let's give that a quick go. We've got like another 15 minutes. So, corner. Okay, so we've got some root motion animations. It's an inside corner. This is an outside corner. I know this is an outside corner. Outside corner left and right. So let's turn these into montages. AM for animation montage. Leon, climb. Left corner. I just did the wrong one. Not the root motion one. Although I could change it. So say you make a mistake like that, you just come in, you just change it right here. There we go. It should be the length of that animation, which is 1.42. Have a look. The root motion, what's the length of this animation? Oh no, it is 1.41. Cool. Okay, so we'll save that. That is the root motion one. We'll go to root motion on the right side. Turn that into an animation montage. AM, Leon, line, right corner outside. Cool. Come back in here. Right. Okay. So if we don't get a hit, then we're going to do a similar series. Actually, we're just going to do this. As long as we're not playing a montage, we're now allowed to play a montage, and the montage that we're going to play is selected based off of whether we're moving left or right. And if we're moving to the right, which is true here, we'll do the right corner outside, otherwise we'll do the left corner outside. So let's have a look and see if that actually does what we want. Immediately, no. So the distance is a little bit much, so let's go 50 units. That is pretty neat. Oh. Haha. I see what happened there. I think this triggered while I was climbing up the wall. So I get to a certain point. Oh, no, he's fine that time. Interesting. Something is stuck. Now we just got to solve that problem. Yeah, talking while I'm building, I think, is the conceptual value behind this, where I'm seeing a problem and then I'm approaching solutions, and sometimes those solutions don't work, so then I approach it from another angle, and that, I think, is hopefully valuable to people in a live stream format. So in the future, people can come in, they can ask questions and be like, can you build this thing live, and I want to see the process that you go through. So far so good though. Tomorrow, by the way, anyone watching, I'll be doing a live stream on a UI implementation. And so the plan is to make the Slay the Spire or Cult of the Lamb kind of like map UI where you've got different camps and resource locations, or like yeah, just different points of interest with the dotted line between them, and I'll create a map that you can sort of like play through. That'll be a fun stream. Yeah, makes it very clear. Yeah, I'm glad it works. Let's have a look at where I was with this. So something is triggering in scenarios that I don't want it to, and I think it is this, so I'm just going to debug it. Oh, and I think it's while I'm holding the D key at the same time, maybe? No? Didn't quite fully adjust around that corner, did he? Now we're kind of at an angle. So this expresses why we should probably actually fully manage that. I guess what you really want to do is rotate the capsule at the moment that you turn, so that you turn to the next surface correctly. So it'd be 90 degrees off of whatever that surface's vector is. He can now phase through walls, which is just another power. Something about doing these animations at weird times. But that's okay, because we can absolutely manage it afterwards, so that's all cool. I just want to know what that bug I was having was. Yeah, this bug. How have I ended up like this? I don't seem to be able to reproduce that or see it in the graph very easily. So if I jump midway through, it doesn't help anything. Yeah, there's got to be a repro or an event for this. So here's a problem. If so far I've been jumping at the wall parallel. If I jump at the wall sideways, that is like the major problem, is like landing on the wall and not actually facing it. So when we set climbing, we should probably take into account the angle that we hit the wall. Or I could just set the rotation to the hit normal. I don't know if this is the correct normal, but we'll see. It needs to be by -1. Again, this won't work in non-uniform scenarios, but that's cool. So ideally, won't get any more of those problems. Really need to find out a repro for this thing when he sort of climbs up and then ends up climbing again. It could very well have been to do with like, oh yeah, like the angle jump. So maybe that's the repro. So land on it sideways and climb. Is that 100%? If I'm straight on and I climb, will I ever get an issue? No. If I turn, okay. So something going on there. I do get a hit. So can climb should probably also respect the similar condition here. So can climb, valid. As long as you're not climbing and you're not playing a montage already, then you can climb. That seems a bit over-tuned, because you might be playing like the jump montage. If I get really close. Not too bad. Oh, okay. Now I've got a new problem. Now you don't want to go all the way up the wall. Oh, that's funny. The wall is so thin. I can't actually go up it because the trace is already off the wall. I wonder if I can either reduce that trace length again. I break a lot of things. I think he's going to be in the wall this time. Or off the wall. Yeah, at least now I can actually sort of walk around them. Do you need to kind of align or hug the wall or something? Because obviously I'm off the wall now. Show collision. Yeah. So it's no good relying on the animations to put you in the right place. We do need to manage it, especially when we end the animation. It might be worth doing something in the animation to move the capsule towards the wall. We want it to be a smooth move as well, so like as this animation plays, let's just get off this wall. Got a good wall landing, but then we get to here and we hug off the wall. We can now at least climb the wall, which is good. It's good news. That's what I could do. As long as this is not equal to 0. This I should probably put this on both ends. It actually might fix the problem with the other one, so let's do it on both ends. So as long as x is not equal to 0, then we'll do these traces. It's pointless to do these traces if you're not moving upwards. In fact, I am doing this trace while you're moving downwards, which is also a problem, so we would want to clean that up as well. But now at least we're only going to trigger this if we're moving off those walls. I think we had 50 was the golden number, which in the absence of time, because it's almost half past the hour for me, or 1 hour and a half for the stream. Okay, so that's a little bit nicer. I haven't been able to repro the thing again. Let's try from an angle. Yeah, okay, so we're good. We're good. Okay, so in summary, we have a character that can now run, jump, got a pretty long jump. He can run and jump at walls. He can jump off of walls. He can walk at walls. Oh, okay. Now he's just confused. It's like, I don't know if I want to get on the wall. Why is it far away if the collision boxes are proper? Is there a way to make it stick to the collision box or the wall? Yes, there is, and it would be like through some tick functionality to, or at least some post or during animation, we would actually like move the capsule manually to the wall. And because I want to replicate all of this, I am going to need to add those safety nets in maybe another video. Because I have to break for lunch now. So I could carry on with this afternoon and just keep iterating on it. But yes, the reason it was far away is I changed the length of the check. And so from my right or left side, I brought that right in. But the montage is called root motion, which means it's going to move the capsule for us. That root motion montage is canned, so it's going to move your capsule like a certain degree angle. And so I played it so close to this edge that when I played that full root motion, I ended up further away from the wall. So two ways we could solve it is as the animation plays, we know the wall that we're going to, and so that could be any other angle, and we'll actually translate you to that wall manually, or turn root motion off and just do the whole thing manually. The other solution is, as we play through this animation, we could create a notify that is like a duration on the timeline, and as it plays, during that duration, we sort of move you closer to the wall. So I could do that on stream later. I could show what's called a anim notify state, which is more efficient. I mean, both are going to be on per frame, because we're moving it, sort of like lerping it. So both are on tick. So at that point, it's more about like which one's more useful. So I'd say that the animation state is more useful, because it's going to be far easier to look at the animation and then tweak the bar on the timeline, left and right, to where you exactly want that blend to happen. Yeah, I would say the notify state would be the better option. Okay, so there was one last issue. Let's have a look at why that's happening. So apparently I can climb, which is true. I can. And then he's playing a montage, so he can't climb. Okay, so I messed that up. In fact, if I take that condition off, does that always happen? Nope. What did this condition solve? Something to do with that. He's entering climb whilst playing a montage. Let's get rid of these double negatives. It's another thing about Booleans that I don't always like. It's like a false positive, like Boolean, where it's like, if it is not doing that thing, then don't or do this. So let's clean that up and just do, if we're climbing, we're not allowed to climb, or enter climb. I should rename this to can enter climb. If we're not climbing and sorry, oh yeah, right. So the conditions here were, can I enter climb? Yes, then do so. If I can't enter climb, is the surface that I'm hitting? I should really comment this. This one is just like, cannot enter climb. I'm already climbing. That's pretty simple. I mean, that's actually kind of conditioned inside the set climbing function anyway. Okay, so if the surface I'm hitting is not the floor, allow to enter climb. Or is a wall, I should say. Surface. Allow me to enter climb. It's Yeah, I mean, the point is here I haven't actually exactly identified what's happening, but I have a small theory. So when I'm climbing, I get to the top, that trace misses. It goes, okay, now do a climb over, and then a hit occurs as the capsule moves. And so whilst that capsule moves, it checks, can I climb? At which point it says, the thing I hit was maybe either the floor or whatever, and so it actually says true and sets you back into climbing and plays the other animation to put you into climbing again while you're halfway through an animation. So what this get current montage is not valid is saying is, or is valid is saying, if you're playing a montage such as getting up onto the wall, getting off of the wall, jumping off of the wall, or jumping sideways, or any of these kind of conditions, then you're not allowed to enter climbing. So essentially, as long as we're not touching the floor and we're also not playing an animation. Also can't enter climb if playing a montage. Such as climb. So he was entering climb whilst, so like wall climbing, whilst he was actually like getting up onto the ledge because he executed a hit as the capsule was moved by the root motion. That's essentially what I think happened. That's cool. Let's check that this isn't doing the stupid thing again, which it is, so I need a better condition. It is less than 0. And so then this fails. What I'm realizing now is that I actually have a meeting in 10 minutes. This condition needs to change. So let's put this a lot earlier. Essentially just ignore the hit, because the false off of here actually does something. As long as we're not playing an animation here, then we're allowed to run the conditions of entering or exiting based on the hit, which could be the floor, could be the wall. Clean these up a little bit, so double clicking on there to create a reroute node. Okay. So we're good here. Compile that, press play. Now, alrighty. Whoa. But what happened there? Let's just do one more check. Pretty cool. Can I move off the wall while I'm... No, I can't. Just trying to like smash the keys. It's called monkeying the keyboard. Or yeah, so I still need to do the snapping, which will be through the notify state that I spoke about, and I'll do that in about an hour. I'll break for lunch, I'll come back and I'll do another stream for a couple of hours to wrap this particular episode up. But yeah, I'm okay with most of this. Pretty cool. Yeah. So thanks for joining, and anyone who's watching, this is a series where I'm going to prototype various things. Last week I did basic first person, third person, and top-down controls, just very simple prototypes of setting up things from scratch. Set up this character, for example. And then this week I was doing some stuff with climbing. I want to do some stuff with inventory. I want to do some stuff with combat. So probably just building on this prototype and exploring different things. And you're welcome, Shabam has joined us in chat to talk about what we're doing here and just joining the conversation, which is great. I'm glad you joined us again. So last week we did a UI stream, and Shabam joined us there as well. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If there's a short version, I'll take it. Souls-like parry mechanic would be really cool. Let's do that, yeah. Let's do like a timed parry. That would be done through the gameplay ability system. When you activate the ability, we can have a tag that's on your character that is a parry window that will close. And if an attack hits you whilst you've got that tag of like able to parry, then the enemy will get stunned. I've done it in a game before through the gameplay ability system using tags, timed tags. So that's really nice. Okay, yeah, Orion, cool. Yeah, so for now I'm going to close the stream and I'm going to go get some lunch and I'll be back in about an hour. So I'll see you in a bit, and thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, as always, just comment on the video and like and subscribe, because that helps me on that journey. Cheers. Take care, mate.